Hey besties, today we're going all the way back to my very first crochet projects. This one was meant to be a cute little beanie, but somehow turned into a sleeping bag. And this one was gonna be a gift, but it didn't quite work out that way. I didn't know what I was thinking when I made these, and honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. So let's revisit this together. I'm gonna be starting with this one that I had made as a gift for my brother, but once I actually went to his house and he put it on, it was very clear that it was too big of a beanie, and I had chosen maybe the wrong yarn, the wrong stitches, I don't know, but it was quite big. So I didn't follow a pattern for this either, which I think is also another problem that I had. I found a tutorial on YouTube and it showed me how to do the ribbing, and I thought, cool, I can make some ribbing and then I can make like a whole hat out of that, which is true. That is one way that you can do it. But obviously I had a bit too much bravado and thought, you know, I'm just gonna make a hat. So as I was making this as a gift for my brother, I definitely wanted this to have more of a like cool vibe to it. And this must have been way back in like 2014 that I made this hat. I'm gonna say 2014. And back then fashion was a little bit different and I was kind of going for more like a hipster cool slouch hat slash beanie, but it really didn't turn out that way. Like it might, but it's like not quite giving slouch beanie. So I'm gonna talk about what definitely went wrong. So number one was that this was like my first beanie and I decided not to follow a pattern or even a video tutorial. I just decided to go off vibes, which was definitely wrong. Number two was that I picked a stitch that was definitely too big for my project. Instead of making this out of doubles, I made them out of trebles to make the project go quicker, which I think was definitely a mistake. And I never finished it. I never weaved in the ends. I guess I kind of knew when I was making it that it was wrong and that it just wasn't turning out the way that I wanted it to. So I didn't even bother weaving in the ends. I did finish up the top though. And I think I was gonna put a pom-pom on it. Again, I was making this for my brother and I don't think he would have enjoyed a pom-pom anyway. I did like the colors and the yarn is like still pretty soft. So I might try and reclaim it later and just undo it. It's just been sitting in my cupboard since then, honestly. I really should do something with it. I also used a 6mm hook, which was definitely too big. Overall, my stitches were okay and even, but I think just having like a bigger like hook size didn't do anything for them and just made it overall way too loose and too big. But yeah, like it is so big. It is just so big. I think I could I could even turn this into a bucket bag, to be honest with you. Like it is so big and stretchy. Like, I don't know if this is really showing the exact scale of it, but like it is huge. It could fit over a pumpkin. It's so big. And as you can see, my fingers just like going through the project. I don't know why I made this like a lace treble situation. Like it's just way too big, way too airy. I think it might have been a little bit cold as well in winter, especially when the wind blew. Yeah, see? So big. Absolute fail. Now I'm gonna try on this beanie. Let's see if it fits or not. Okay, yeah, it's definitely a bit big. Like I said, I was going for a slouch. See if I can make it a little more slouchy looking, but even then it's like, it came off. It's just too big. I don't think it was ever gonna be a realistic thing that I could give to somebody. Let's try again, see. I don't think it doesn't feel cute to me. I don't know, tell me what you think. Should I just unravel this one and start again? I probably should, to be honest. I don't think I could style it on myself to look cute. Again, it just came off. So it's definitely too big. It could definitely be like a market bag though, if I could finish weaving in all the ends and making it look nice. And this is my other beanie that I made, and I feel like it is a canon event to make a comically long beanie, or just like comically big in general when you're first making garments. Oh my gosh, this thing is so long. And I want you all to know that I actually used to wear this outside in public. I don't know why. It's it's so long. I'll show you how I wore it, but it's not pretty. So why did I make this? Number one, I really liked the yarn type. I liked the colors mostly. It's a roving yarn, so if you've ever worked with roving yarn, you know that it doesn't really undo very well. And when I was a beginner, this yarn was an absolute nightmare to work with. Like, there's no getting around it. It was a nightmare. Originally, I was knitting with this yarn and I was using bamboo, like 6mm needles, and I don't know what was happening. It just like wasn't happening. I kept dropping stitches and honestly, it looked horrible. So in the end, I thought, you know what? I know how to crochet. I'm gonna crochet myself a beanie. And that's what I did. I slowly pulled apart the roving yarn and I worked it up into this monstrosity instead. I do like the pom-pom though. The pom-pom gives. I do need to like trim it up a little bit, but that's fine. And I did use a pattern for this, surprisingly. But what type of mistakes do beginners usually make when they're making garments for the first time? They will pick a pattern and then they will pick a yarn that they like on vibes. And then when it comes to actually making the thing, it turns out too big. And like, that's what just happened with this. I really love this yarn. I wanted it to be something. I followed a tutorial. It ended up way too big. It's kind of like a lively ribbed beanie too, which I really liked. I really like this sort of ribbed texture in a beanie. I feel like it looks the best and, you know, it gives it a bit of flavor and I love that. I also just kept telling myself that this beanie was going to work out. So come hell or high water, I had made like this project 3 or 4 times. I was gonna finish it off. So I just joined on the extra ball of roving yarn that I had and I had just finished it off. And it's so big. And again, you can see that I didn't quite weave in my ends properly here. It was definitely my trait as a beginner to not finish any ends or weave them in properly. And that was a big problem because I made a lot of blankets previous to trying to make beanies, and it wasn't as obvious that my ends weren't woven in as well as they could have been. But definitely once I started doing more garments, I saw like, yep, you have to be like on point with how you weave in your ends and making sure that everything is secure before you know, leave the door. Or you give something as a gift. Hence why I still have my other beanie I haven't given to anyone because I never finished it off properly. But yeah, for this project, it was definitely wrong yarn, wrong gauge, wrong everything. It just was not working out for me. Okay, let's try on this beanie. I'm just pulling it down. It's super long. Okay, it's a bit more snug. Again. Okay, this is how I was going to style this beanie, and I used to leave the house looking like this. I used to leave the house looking like this sometimes. But this is just too thick of a beanie, if I'm being honest with you. This yarn would have been way better as like a scarf, I think. I actually really don't know, but this is too much, especially with the fold over. I do like the pom-pom though, because it's like super cute, but this extra fold here is just like too much. I feel like the brim that I was trying to make probably would have been a bit smaller, but like this is way too much. And you kind of miss the rest of the beanie. I don't know. Let me know below what you think and if I should try and pull this one apart or not to make something else. Don't know. I feel like the pom-pom isn't also that secure, so when I would run it would go kind of all over the place. And yeah, I didn't really secure it in that well either. So that's probably the problem. Actually, I remember when I was making the pom-pom, I was wrapping like a thinner yarn around it just to like keep the middle of the pom-pom together a bit more, because I had tried with this roving yarn and it didn't work at all. Look, here's an end I didn't weave in. Why I did that to myself, I don't know. My stitches though do look really nice and neat. So before I had decided to try doing like beanies and garments, I had been doing lots of blankets and I had really perfected my techniques on blankets. And then I was just ready for a different challenge, and that challenge was beanies. So some lessons that I really learned about making these projects was that actually yarn weight does matter. Also, the size of the hook that you use matters immensely. It's the difference between having a project that fits you correctly and looks right and having like this comically large hat. I also learned that roving yarn is like not for me. I have since picked up more skeins of roving yarn and have made other projects out of it, but definitely as a beginner, it was not for me. One thing I wish someone had told me before I had started this one, which was my first beanie, was that I should definitely follow a pattern, at least for the first one, or a video tutorial, because this was a disaster. Not to say that you can't freehand things if you're a bit more of an expert, but I was definitely a bit more green and a beginner to these sorts of projects. So what were your first projects like? Were they a disaster like mine? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to see more videos from me.